Oh, can't hold me. The feels. They are just too much. Too much. Pure why?
2 episodes in and we're already having feels. Ru- Rooster Teeth, you're doing something to us, and God, I just want to shake you until you freaking get it right. The feels. So,
Cruel people.
yeah, they are cruel. So, hey people, how you doing? It's Gibatu with GamerCal here once again.
Hello
Here.
again.
God, I will get this right the first time around one day. I will get this right in the first time around one day. God. But anyway, in case you missed it, RWBY Volume 4 Episode 2, Remembrance, has just released. And again, the feels, they're already tugging on our heartstrings, and they're already just trying to, prepare us for the worst.
We'll get to that as it comes, though, because that's not the first thing that happened in this episode.
Yeah, that ain't actually the first thing, but it's still in Episode 2, so yeah, this is going to be interesting. So, as usual, we're talking about the whole episode. We'll bring up some specific spots and topics or whatever. So, I'll put timestamps whenever we get to that point to talk about it. So, you want to skip to when we actually talk about a specific part in the episode, you can just skip to that part and be happy with that. Which I'm pretty sure people will skip to one specific part in particular we want to talk about. I can almost guarantee you that one. But, with that said, we start off with something... What's the word for it? It's not somber? Something somber.
Yeah, melancholic, maybe?
Melancholic, yeah. That's probably a good word for it. Somber and melancholic, whatever. And we see Weiss walking along towards her father, who he called her upon, to see the environment that they are in, this building that they are in. And the first thing I just want to say right now, they really did some crazy good details on this environment. It really felt... I mean, episodes from Volume 3 did feel... Volume 3 to me, in... What is it? In background animation... Animation-wise, it just felt very out of place. I didn't feel too immersed into some situations until, like, somewhat mid-season of that season. But Volume 4, Episode 2, the very first few minutes, I felt like it really got you into this, and it really brought you into a world where this is where winter is, and as pretty as it is, as nice as it looks, you can just see it, that it's big, it's nice, but it's empty.
Yeah, I think the thing with Season 3 is more that it was just the same as what we had before with, I guess, the festival, like the tournament stuff was slightly different, but it was basically in the same place again, and maybe just gotten sick of it by the third season. That's highly possible, but this season already has had some very diverse areas in it, and I think it's just a visual change of pace that really sets it apart, as well as the fact that they've done a lot of work engine and whatnot for touching up the textures and stuff, and dear God, does it look pretty.
It really does. It just shows that it's a different engine, which I thought they were using a different engine in Volume 3 because of how much slower the animation was compared to from Volume 1 and 2.
No, I have a feeling that was just a slight change of direction because passing of Monty in between stuff that way. I have a feeling they would, because it was mostly at the start that I would have said, yeah, like the first two fights in the festival were kind of I mean, I've grown to like especially the first one a bit more as I've rewatched it, but I understand what you mean. It did feel slower. It didn't feel quite as well choreographed as the fights before under Monty's direction were. Nowadays, though, obviously they fixed up a lot on that, but I think it just took them a little bit to get into it again, to really get the direction right. And yeah, now they've got that, and they've got more pretty stuff. So
yeah, I will say just one thing, that when it got to when it was Crow versus Winter, I think that's when they really started kicking it up. It's like, yeah, that's a really good fight scene. That's how it should be.
That was the first one when I saw that, and I was like, yeah, you guys all doubted the stuff here. Check this one out. This is where it's going. You know,
that's a pretty good step up from the last two fights.
Yeah. So I was looking at the comments thinking, oh, all the stuff is slower than that. Here is what you want to check out if you want to see. Yeah, they haven't lost anything. It's just taking a bit to adjust.
It's setting up it is setting up an environment that's different, because they did mention that it was going to be different from the last Volume 2. As Volume 4 is much different with this environment. That's the word I'm looking for. It was a different environment. That's the word I was looking for earlier. And speaking of different, not only is it a different place, but we're introducing some different characters once again. This time, their first new character is somebody I didn't expect that they have, actually. Weiss and Winter have a brother named Whitley. And
totally not Whitley.
Wheelie Schnee. You are really Schnee about this, aren't you? Oh,
welcome to the level of humor in these videos.
Yeah, this is what it's gonna come down to, people. It's just making fun of certain people because they're funny. But yes, Whitley. This is a new character I didn't expect to see. I wasn't expecting this to have Weiss or Winter to have a brother, and not only that, he looks a lot younger. And particularly maybe like 16, maybe 15 or 16. But, oh man, he has a much different process of thinking. And he's already a lot different because Weiss has already stated that he has acted a lot different. Because of which, he apparently hates Winter, and I think it looks like he really has an upholding for the father figure. But he himself, it just irks you, because it's not him being mean, it's not him being evil, it's just him being mischievous. I think that's the word for it, because you can just see there's something going on. There's some wheels turning in his head that you think he knows something. He knows something in particular.
I'm just gonna call this now as a completely crazy out of there thing. He is somehow associated with Salem and crew, like an inside body sort of thing. Somehow, I wouldn't be able to know how, but he is way too suspicious to just be like his own thing. He's got to be working with the bad guys somehow. I can't like think otherwise at the moment, just with how
you just can't unsee it.
Yeah, basically, like I sort of read a bit about it in one of the comments, still thinking, yeah, that sounds like it could happen, and now, like, headcanon, I want it to happen. So
I kind of want him to be the bad guy, just because he's already that one guy you don't want to be associated with. Oh, it just shows that he's very, very different, as it does in the family portrait, which I just want to mention that I want to give a mention real quick about the portrait, because everybody in that picture does not seem very happy, except for maybe the father and Whitley. Whitley, it looks like he looks very stoic to me, very generic face. But maybe if you look at it another way, you could probably see a small feint of glimpse of a smile. That's all I see, though, and it just shows this whole family seems diverse and very solemn.
It's the sort of portrait you would expect from a royal family in the Middle Ages. They never obviously smiled in any of their stuff that way, and it's the sort of thing you would expect, like, a king or a queen to have, which I guess then sort of, that's been not quite, like, hinted at, but it almost feels like they've set up the Schnee family to be like the royalty of Atlas, because, you know, Weiss is referred to as the Ice Queen, and Princess by the Faunus guy that in the White Fang that was wielding the chainsaw. Come here, Princess, you know, the stuff that way, and her title is heiress. So, you know, heiress to the Schnee throne. They've basically set up the Schnees as a royal family, and yeah, that's the sort of portrait you would expect a royal family to have.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. It just makes me wonder what kind of inner turmoil this family's gonna have to go through. As a small notice, though, I saw the mother and I thought, is that Winter? No, that's the mother. Wait, no, that's the mother. Never mind. Which
Yeah.
also, by the way, it's a weird thing to mention, but the mother is drinking outside. What is she drinking? It's like, is she not happy with her current predicament right now? That comment just threw me off. It's like, oh, it's mother like that? Oh, dear.
And it was so nonchalant as well. It was just casually thrown out there. It's Mother's drinking outside. It's not her that's arguing.
It just came out of nowhere, and it's so very. It just felt very, very out of place for a comment like that to happen. But with that said, then Weiss continues on to the father, which she hears that he is arguing with another man. There'll be spoilers right now to mention, but you probably know who it is. But we move on then. Go on.
If you looked at the intro at all, then you know who it is. At least you should do, because although it seemed like, again, just reading through some of the first comments in to the episode 2, some people apparently didn't think it was the general. They didn't think it was Ironwood in the intro. They thought it was somebody else. Like, how could you not see that as Ironwood?
It's kind of hard not to see.
Exactly. I realize different outfits and stuff, but he's still got the same face that, you chisel out of, granite and whatnot.
I heard, when Weiss opened the door, I heard the voice, and I was like, oh, it's Ironwood. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah. Well, the comments were more, hey, this is confirmation it was Ironwood in the intro and not somebody else. I'm just thinking, how did you not see it as Ironwood before?
Some people are not observant. Some people are, I don't know how they're not observant, but we need to be more observant of things going on as we see this. As we skip to the next scene where RWBY is waking up to memories, which this happens twice in the whole thing, but RWBY is starting to have nightmares about what she saw at the end of Volume 3. Specifically, it's right when Pyrrha was saying, "Do you believe in destiny?" I knew there was that line there that she said that when they were mentioning that, and then at the very end of the first one, you hear her scream Pyrrha's name. Either she's very haunted still by that memory because it was a very jarring moment in RWBY's life, or there's more to it than meets the eye, because RWBY, there's always something more to it.
More to it than meets the eye.
That's just more than meets the silver eyes. How about that?
Yeah, it was meant to be a joke on the fact
it was never meant to be funny though.
Right. Question though. How did Pyrrha hear? How did RWBY hear the line about destiny? She didn't get to the top of that until the arrow got shot.
That's what drew me off too. It's like that's a specific thing to hear, but then it made me wonder. It made me think of a certain thing that's happening. I was like, no, they can't do that, can they? Which is that somehow Pyrrha's spirit would be just sending relayed messages or something like that. And I'm already thinking, no, that is insanely stupid already.
No, that doesn't seem like the sort of direction that this would take.
It doesn't seem like it. I sort of saw that and it's like, no, it's not. It can't be. But it does raise questions as to how RWBY would be able to hear that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you would not be able to hear that when running up a tower like that. The wind would be way too much at the top of that or going up it to hear a conversation that was as quiet as it was. Wasn't a projected voice thing that. It was, like inside voices sort of thing. You wouldn't be able to hear that on the way up.
No,
I'm fairly sure of it.
It's just flat out. You can't remember something that didn't happen. That didn't happen. You just can't remember something that didn't happen to you. That's just how it is. So that's a question for later, I guess. We'll have an answer to that later. But as we wake up, we are back to the group Team Ranger or Team Junior, whoever they are. They are heading towards another town that Jaune's remembering because the family has always been there. Jaune's family camped there. They had fun there. And apparently Jaune had his own tent because he was being picked on by his 7 other sisters. Jaune had a big family, apparently. I did not think Jaune would have the very big family, either being a lone child or maybe one brother that would pick on him to show he had that small demeanor of being the bullied one. But still, 7 sisters. Wow, that has to be hell in its own.
That was actually said in season 2.
Is it?
Dance. Yeah. When Vera was dancing with Jaune, and she was like, "I never knew you could move like that." It runs in the family. I have 7 sisters. It kind of happens.
I'll have to rewatch that. But still, it's funny to hear that Jaune had 7 sisters and not a brother to pick on him, which makes me think, what happened there? And even then, Nora was like, "Oh, that explains a lot." What does that explain?
The girly screams. Question though, is it only sisters that he has? Is there any? There's nothing ever been said if he has any other siblings, right?
Yeah, I don't remember him ever saying he ever had a brother or any other kind of relative.
Right, because I just kind of thought of something from the first part here. We have obvious confirmation in this part that Jaune used to live around this area. What if that guy in the farming scene in the first part was related to Jaune somehow?
I never thought of that one.
Neither did I until sort of thinking about this just now, looking at the whole being.
Yeah, maybe that guy knows Jaune somehow. Yeah, I never thought of that. Because Jaune does live in this area somehow. He goes camping here a lot, he says, and that wouldn't be surprising to have connections to some of the people around.
And you know that Jaune was the farm boy at first, because he mentioned it, that he used to live out in the farm and stuff. If you didn't make it in the academy, you could always come back and be a farmhand with us, sort of thing. Yeah. So, that's his type of background.
Yeah, being a farm boy. So
maybe there's some connection.
You never know. You never know that kind of connection. It does make it.
Makes too much sense, doesn't it?
Makes too much sense. Must think more logic.
Must think more crackpot. It makes too much sense. Warning.
Must remove logic. Must think overbearing ideas. But there was an overbearing with a small scene, though. It kind of made you snicker. It kind of made me think a bit. But then it kind of cut short when the group finally makes it to town, only to see that it's been completely destroyed, in a simple term. And I guess they kind of had an idea on what to do, because I don't know if they actually ran into something like this before. Because I know we've seen in the intro that RWBY has been in a town where it's overrun by Grimm, and there's still people around, and they're trying to save the town as much as they can. But this is the first time we're seeing them actually respond to this kind of thing. And this is a big thing to adjust to.
Yeah, I mean, we talked before the discussion stuff about the potential timing of the intro compared to everything else, and whether it happens before season 4 action starts, or whether or not it's somewhere later in the timeline, because it's canon, because all the other trailers have been canon before.
Of course.
It's just a question of when. And I don't know, something didn't sit right with me with the reaction of stuff in this. There's a bit of something else I mentioned at the end that I had sort of issues with this one, but the reaction to what was, I guess, still going on within the town at the time didn't really sit well with me. And wow, sure, you'll explain what.
This scene in particular, we were both talking about this scene in particular just before we started just having this discussion. But just after they find out this town, they look for survivors, and they find one in particular who seems to be bleeding out or has taken too bad a stab and such. And it was a huntsman as well, not just any regular person. He was a huntsman that was actually trying to defend the town. And as a group, they try to decide how to handle the situation, whether they just hurry up and get going, or they just do something like that. And how do they take him there? How do they handle it? Should they do, whatever? But they turn away from him to try and discuss what they do, rather than just do it, and rather than just help the guy out right then and there, they just kind of turn away and just kind of think of what they do and what they're doing and such. And you had a rant about this first, so you go first.
I just don't think that's the way that these characters would react to that. I mean, I can't really say much for Ren, because, well, he hasn't said a whole lot. You don't really know how he would react to something like this, but especially Ren just kind of walking past the guy, put his hands up behind his head. It just, like, oh god, what's happened here, sort of thing. That I would have expected that, you know, the plan they were talking about, if we can carry him to the previous town, etc., you know, I would have thought that Ren in particular would have just done that, would have just less talk, more action sort of thing of it. Instinctually, I think, especially as hero types, you would just kind of do in that situation. You would act, you wouldn't talk first with it.
Yeah, though I look at this and I try to remember, these are still students that were trying to learn how to be huntsmen and huntresses, and I don't think they have a lot of experience of handling this kind of thing. When Ren walks away with his hands over his head, it makes me wonder if he's just trying to process it, because he may have handled something before, but he just couldn't process it immediately. So when he comes back and sees it dead, then it just kind of puts a wrench in the machine. But then with the other three, though, they are still growing up. They're still trying to adapt and learn and understand how to handle this kind of situations. Don't forget that RWBY still is not fully over losing Penny, Pyrrha, the whole school, and just seeing all this disaster happening. So when it happens again, they kind of have more of an idea. They're trying to discuss it with the teammates to have more of a plan to have with this. But then, as Cal has said, they don't take action on it. And I feel that's because of inexperience with the situation. They don't have the full-fledged experience of handling something this severe, having a lone survivor of this whole entire destroyed town of bandits and Grim attacking. They don't have experience of helping somebody to make sure they stay alive, who ends up dying a few seconds later anyway, just enough to give a little more explanation as to what happened to the town. So that's my theory as to why this scene happened the way it did.
Yeah, I'm probably being too harsh on them, and that I could definitely see, especially if Ren and Nora have had some childhood trauma related to stuff like this, that Ren might just freeze up and go, oh god, why is this happening again, sort of thing. But, I don't know,
to something
like,
PTSD, maybe?
Yeah, like, you know, the nightmares and whatnot RWBY's having. Maybe if, I mean, I just feel like if it was a slightly different situation, like if there was a Grim involved or something, there would have been immediate action from them. They would have just gone straight in for it. They would have immediately gone to do that. Maybe, as you say, this isn't something they've encountered before, hesitation is pretty much what happened. That it might just be, inexperience with that type of situation. I don't know. Maybe it's just thinking of the whole morality sort of stuff. That way, you would like to think if you're in that sort of situation, you would try and help immediately. Let's face it, you probably wouldn't, but you can always sort of hold to that standard. And I don't know. I feel like if there was any sort of antagonist around at the time, that they would have immediately jumped to action on that. And I don't know. It's a hard thing to...
It's a hard thing to put into words as to what you would do and such. Though they don't have medical attention experience either. So even if they knew
it's not like they have a medical team. They were going to take him to the previous town, which was probably too far away anyway. But I don't know. So it tells me that the way the characters, based on how I know them, at least in my head canon, they would have reacted much faster to that. They would have just gone, and Ruby would be like, trying to pick him up, going, "We'll take him to the previous town. It'll be all right," rather than, "What should we do? We could take him to the previous state, or we could try and get him help and stuff." In my head canon, they would have just done it first and would have been talking about it as they were trying to go, or trying to pick him up, or whatever.
You'd think they would do something, but sadly they didn't. They just took too much time trying to think of a plan, and because of which he passed on. And this to me feels like the most out of character spot. But I'm not saying most out of character, but it just feels like the most. It was a really weird spot. I don't say weird, but I say weird a lot, but just a different kind of weird. But when Nora was asking if we should bury him, Ren just simply said, "We need to get moving. We should get going. There's going to be more danger around." And it's the way he delivered it, like, okay, it makes sense because there's still dangerous things around, and yeah, you probably want to get moving. But the way Ren said those specific words, wow, it feels like he really felt either disconnected or he let his emotions get to him really much.
Yeah, he was really aggressive with that, and it makes me feel like this has happened before to him. It
must have happened to him before.
Because the way that came across, it was, this has happened again to me, like, why, sort of stuff. It's, I don't know, like, that's really one of the few reasons I can think of it being so aggressively, but, that has to have been on purpose, the way that
it had to have been on purpose, but you have no idea why or how it happened there. And even after then, Ren and Nora in particular, after that whole dispute, they walk away, only to find that there's an insignia on the ground there, which I guess is left from the bandits. And the way they look at it, and then the way they look at each other, there's some history with that insignia. They probably have some history with it.
Especially Nora's look to Ren, because obviously Ren saw it first, and then Nora was going over, "Well, what you doing," sort of thing, or, "What's up with you?" Looked at it herself, and then her expression. It does seem like those two have encountered that before. And I don't know, maybe they're gonna try and take down some of the bandit stuff that way, because if they know who it is, some sort of advanced knowledge on that. I've seen people, again, looking comment-wise, I've seen some people thinking it's to do with Tyrion. I think it's too early for that, but then again, I don't know how fast he works, so maybe it could be to do with him. But, because he's that sort of psychopath that would toy with his prey first, and he knows which direction.
I feel it'd be way too early for Tyrion to make an appearance of any kind. And the way that Ren and Nora particularly looked at it, we didn't see RWBY or Jaune look at it, so we can't say for sure if they have experience or not. But the way that Ren and Nora looked at it, they have a history with whatever attacked this town, or whoever attacked the town.
Yeah.
So there has to be some history there. And speaking of history, it seems that we find some history between, not history, but like, there's some heat going on as we return to Weiss going to her father. Her father, named Jacques, is talking to old Ironwood, who are arguing over specific details about the dust. Ironwood, particularly, he flat out refused to have dust be imported to other kingdoms and continents and such. And he's saying he's doing this because he doesn't want to have anyone else having this in case there's a war that's going to happen, or if a war were to break out or whatever, he does not want to risk people having this set dust to start fighting or whatever. And honestly, that just like Ironwood, if anyone knows Ironwood by now, Ironwood as a military man, he takes some extremes when he ever wants to have a decision happen. You can just see he just flat out decided to keep the dust away from people, and that alone is already going to cause some tension between the other continents, the other kingdoms. And as such, the father, Jacques, who is losing money over this, he's not happy about this either.
Yeah, happy to correction, you meant export, not But
export, import, whatever.
Yeah, I mentioned this before. Like, I don't quite see the logic of banning exports of a, vital resource like light dust to the other kingdoms, because they might go to war over you if they have it, just because of that. I know everybody blames Atlas for what happened at Beacon because it's their robots, it's their military, blah blah blah. I don't think withholding something that you need to survive, is the best way of going about fixing that. And I kind of likened it a little bit to if natural gas or oil or whatnot was denied to a major superpower from like one of the Middle Eastern countries or whatnot, or anybody who would be supplying that. You kind of wouldn't take that on the nose at this point. It's just, we might not, we'll stop and supply to you of this because you might go to war with us for something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a preemptive thing, which is the sort of difference there. But if human history has taught us anything, it's that denial of necessary resources to live is one of the major factors of war. Not necessarily the way to prevent it.
This is also after Atlas machines and devices and whatever. This is what all they saw. The whole world only saw Atlas attacking innocent civilians because of the hack that who was it, Cinder or Torchwork?
Cinder was the one who put it into the tower.
Alright, so yeah, when Cinder started to hack and have Atlas attack everybody, they start taking videos of it and streaming it to all of the other kingdoms and such. So after seeing Atlas do that, and then having Atlas deny dust from everybody, on top of that, you can kind of see how everybody is not very happy with Atlas right now. Even if they are trying to show they are supportive, they're still behaving like they're trying to start war. And that's all the people that they see. That's all the people see right now, is just Atlas is being a high corporate criminal.
Which is why I'm going to have a charity show and you're going to sing in it, because you can, and you are down there and you have to be helpful to everyone and remind them. And
yeah,
I don't like Jock.
Yeah, Jock has some very bad things going on. But as Cal is saying though, because after the whole argument with Ironwood, Jock decides that to show that they are still supporting everybody out there, they are having a charity concert to have everybody come and be happy, and they'll just produce all of it for the show that they still support everybody and they're still their ally. So, which it's a good idea, I guess, to show that they're trying to be on good terms with everybody. But then they're saying that, and you will be singing for us, you being Weiss. And Weiss, I love what Weiss said. Are you asking me to do it, or are you telling me to do it? And then Jock's line, I just think people would be really happy.
And then his expression as well.
That just reminded me of that movie. I can't remember where it was, but it was the one guy with the coffee mug with the glasses, and he was just saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop doing that, and if you could just go ahead and just do this instead, that'd be great." It was some specific quote from a movie, but I can't remember what it was or how the quote went. But I think people will know what quote if they actually look it up. But that just shows that there is still tension between Jock and Weiss, and it makes me think that Jock is actually, I don't want to say manipulating Weiss, but he's trying to show power over his family.
He's very controlling of like everything, and you could see it in Weiss's expression. She was pretty much, apart from the whole "we're going to have a charity" thing, before finding out that she had to be the one singing for it. She was really defeated during like all of this part. From the walk at the start to being into the office and whatnot, she was basically extremely despondent the whole way through, and obviously she really does not want to be where she is right now. But yeah, under the grips of that very tight grip of her father. Not really where she wants to be at all.
No. She tried to get out in the first place. That's why she went to begin in the first place.
Yes, and not Atlas.
Yeah. So after that whole argument, at least Weiss knows that she has some support by very, very interesting change of character. Her most famous butler ever, who, wow, I don't know the words to express for this guy. He's interesting, to say the least.
Awesome, I think, is the word you're looking for.
You say awesome, I say different, because there are different characters. But
so,
yes, you can see, and as you probably saw in the episode, he has a way of entertaining Weiss with different ways of thinking and projecting himself.
And no, he is not in any way associated with me. The whole eye color change thing. That is not because of her.
Yeah, really. He changed it to 3, maybe 4 different eye colors, for Pete's sake. I don't think he has any connections to anything, other than just being eye coloring.
Yeah, his name, was it Clien 7, is, I can't remember exactly what the first word, I know 7 in the German is the other one. He's basically the 7 dwarves to Weiss being Snow White. And there's where the whole different personality thing comes in, where he sneezed to change his eye color and stuff like that. He's adopting a different personality, a different dwarf, basically. And I don't know, like, obviously there's more to it than just the ones that he showed there. Whether we get to see them or not is another question entirely. But I just think it's amazing, like the whole. Everybody in the movie is based off of fictional characters, some fairy tales and stuff like that. I reckon it's just really cool that the whole connection there has come full circle, 3 seasons later from when Weiss was introduced.
Yeah, he is a very interesting character, and I'm eager to see if he'll have more going on for him, other than just show the 3 different sides, or 4 possibly, that he has. But that'll have to wait till another time, because we jump back to when RWBY is waking up to another nightmare.
Oh, here we go.
Of just Pyrrha just yelling out Jaune. And this makes me wonder why RWBY would ever have a dream about Pyrrha calling out for Jaune in particular. That feels to be very weird and out of place.
Until you see what happens next.
Yes, until she wakes up and actually goes to hear Pyrrha talking, it looks like. As she goes to explore, she sees that Jaune is in the middle of the area training, but here comes the emotional part. He's practicing with a recording of Pyrrha, who is trying to teach him how to properly be ready for attacking or defending something. Wow, everybody saw Pyrrha's recording on this, and I bet everybody just like, my heart, I can't go on.
I know I teared up a bit, but then I'm terrible for stuff like that. I will do anything in that sort of sense. But yeah, that hurt a little bit. But it was more the words that came out from here and there that she was struggling to get, to express as well. That just.
Yeah, wow. It just showed that Jaune and Pyrrha, they both have a very good connection with each other. Pyrrha especially, just because of how Jaune was treating Pyrrha just as a normal person, that's who Pyrrha is. She's just good at what she does, but she's still a person. She was still a person. And with this connection to Jaune, it just shows that she was very grateful for that. She was just so happy to have him be a part of his life and just be happy to be a part of his.
Yeah. The Notice Me Senpai was strong in this one. very strong.
If only they could see what's right in front of them. Having a sign in the back. Yeah. Notice me. If only.
Yeah.
I got this RWBY chili, man. That brought the feels in a different way. But yeah, you could see it. But oh man,
that's just frustrating, really. That you kind of, that he's been doing that over and over and over. Maybe that actually has a little bit of why Ruby's been reliving the stuff that way, because she woke up to it this time. She woke up to the scroll conversation, shall we say. You know, to Pyrrha's voice from that. You kind of wonder, because we never saw Jaune's bed at the start of the episode when the first night terror happened. We always saw the other two, but we didn't see Jaune's. He was probably using that recording again at the start of the episode. He's probably been doing that almost every night, if not every night, since they started traveling. And you've got to wonder, did he actually use that beforehand, or is that only after Pyrrha's passing that he either found it or started listening to it, using it, and whatnot?
That also makes me wonder as well, actually. I'm wondering if Jaune actually did find Pyrrha's scroll, and maybe Pyrrha had that scroll recorded for him, and, you know, just had it ready for him.
That's not a bad point, because obviously Jaune bust his scroll. I was sort of wondering in the intro, I don't know if we actually mentioned that before, I was wondering in the intro, how did Ruby and Jaune get scrolls again, like with all the communications and stuff down? Maybe, yeah, if Pyrrha's scroll was still around, maybe that's what Jaune is using now. That's not impossible. And as you say, found the recording, because I don't know if Pyrrha would have told him about that, considering the end of it, considering the whole trying to say I love you but can't put the words out.
Yeah. The way that she was just saying that, and the way that she had it recorded and such, it was either she sent that recording to him to have it ready, or she had that recording ready while they were actually training themselves on the rooftops, and she just wanted to try and have the words out to say it, but she just couldn't. It just really makes you wonder.
Yeah.
But then it just cuts off to him replaying the video again and just have him train himself. The only question I have left for this, I wonder how long Jaune has been seeing this, been playing it, been training with it, and I'm wondering if he just won't. Well, I'm pretty sure if he just keeps playing this, I'm wondering if he'll ever be able to let it go.
I don't think he will. At least not for a very, very long time. I have a hard time thinking he's going to be able to let it go, because especially with the desperation at the end of Volume 3, the way that he was shouting at everything, you know, advice and whatnot, you must get to Pyrrha, please. I still feel like he blames himself for what happened, and I don't think he's ever going to let himself live it down. And that's probably why he's doing all the training stuff with it here, because that's all he's got left now with his weapon, and that recording is probably all that's left of Pyrrha.
Oh, Jaune.
On the plus side, he's generating shockwaves now, which is a pretty good show of his strength with that sword.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's just for effect, or if it was actually him finding something with his semblance, because his semblance, as far as we know, it still hasn't found out yet. We don't know what his semblance is just yet.
I have a hard time thinking it's because of that, because of the fact that we told that his semblance has been shown in the show before. At least a little bit of it has been shown. I have a hard time thinking that that is part of the semblance per se, because that's nothing like anything that's been shown from Jaune before. But I'm wondering if it's like the start of, you know, say like Blake's crescent blade sort of thing, the purple shockwave type.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the start of developing something like that. Like he's gone that sort of far in with his training stuff now, and he's maybe starting to get to be able to use Zora a little bit more and generate stuff that way. Like it's, as Pyrrha said in the recording, I know it's frustrating. I know it feels like you've taken so much effort to make such a small step, but you are progressing. You will keep going with this.
Never met somebody so determined.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah. Never met somebody so determined, and it does. And with Jaune, with us growing with Jaune and learning about him, he is determined. He is determined to show that he is worth something. Even if he did technically cheat to get himself into this whole thing, he's at least willing to keep going at it. With even his own family just trying to say, don't feel bad about coming back, just come on back, just whenever you feel like it. And just having one person believe you is enough to make you want to keep going, whether it's something that's small or not. But now that person is gone, Jaune has to cope somehow. I guess that's the trouble with Jaune here. He has to cope with this one person that believed him the whole entire way through is gone.
Cue the playing of Cold.
Sad face. And on that emotional note, I'm gonna try and not burst into tears after saying that. But that is all of episode 2. And again, the emotions just kind of hit you already. And wow, this is gonna be... I'm really curious what what these episodes are gonna be like after this. This is just showing that RWBY, we're back in RWBY, people. There's no more RWBY chibi anymore. We are here to have some emotions with this whole series, and boy, we're gonna have it.
If I can be critical of one thing real quick, just at the end of stuff, it's the animation of Weiss seemed a bit stilted. So that way, I don't know. I know it's sort of been like that a decent bit, but it kind of really clashed this time, probably because of the other visual upgrades and whatnot. Especially talking with Whitley and whatnot, I felt like her animation was a bit off.
Stiff?
Something, stiff and stilted. The descriptor used first. It seems, it just didn't quite sort of feel right. It didn't quite feel. I don't know if it was done with motion capture or what. If it wasn't, then maybe it should have been. I think they usually use mocap for stuff with the conversations and whatnot.
Think they would, yeah.
Yeah, so it just didn't. Yeah, something was off about it in this one. More so than I feel more so than in the past. And more so than with other characters. But maybe that's just me.
Well, Weiss is still... maybe Weiss isn't... Maybe it's because Weiss is uncomfortable with where she is. You know how people get when they're really stiff and they're like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh god, I know that too much.
Yeah, that may be a slight bit of it, but I mean, with the animation style, because of it, if it's drawing too much, if it feels like it's not part of what is going on, then it's a problem. So that's my take on it. If it that's my idea of it. And I suppose if you're going to point out a detail, one point of detail I like to point out is while RWBY and Jaune were talking with the map and trying to figure out where to get there and whatever, I noticed that the clouds very quickly just started growing really dark.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? They just that just immediately went from happiness and sunshine to evil storm brewing clouds.
It wasn't even just like a change of scene or whatever. You see it progressively get dark as they were walking, and when it gets to the change of all four of them looking at the city, you see the change. You see the little change of details. Like, yeah, this is what RWBY's trying to do. They want those little details. They want you to notice that.
Yeah,
and I like noticing that. I
mean, I like it, and at the same time, it was too fast because it's just gone from really bright sunshine to, almost nighttime sort of stuff that way. But I kind of understand why they do that. It's mostly a timing thing.
Yeah.
There's not enough time to do a gradual sort of lapse thing over it. So they have to sort of transition it much quicker than would feel natural.
They had to do something that made it feel like it was changing. Which, it was changing, but yeah, sudden changes going from happy-go-lucky trail walking to a sudden destructive of big town and such. Like, the clouds wouldn't change like that for one.
No, and if they did, you would expect them to know this immediately because it would have been darkening everything around them as well.
It wouldn't just be that, but they would probably notice the darkness going while they were walking up to it, not just being right in it and it just started getting dark. They would notice the darkness coming from the area they're walking to, like really quickly before they just get right up front of the welcome sign, I guess that was supposed to be there. But that's all little details, and that's all nitpicks that we have. And we're probably going to have a lot more as we continue to talk about this series, but that's not until next episode. So
Blake episode next, let's go!
I'm expecting maybe either a little more focus on Weiss and then switching to Blake. I didn't think they were going to go straight to Weiss and Ruby, then Weiss and Ruby again. I thought it would have been either all Weiss and then just a little Ruby at the end, or something different. But we are focusing on Team Ranger as part of the whole group, rather than just Team Ruby. We're focusing a little bit more of it per episode, but it's Team Ranger on their quest. They have an actual quest going on, and everyone else just kind of has their own situations to deal with.
Yeah, but we still need Best Cat to come back episode, so...
Of course.
Yeah.
We have to get some kind of episode like that.
None of that neon bullshit.
No.
Best Cat needs to come back.
Yeah. I had fun watching Neon Cat, but God, Neon Cat. Why make a character of Neon Cat? That...
more I listen to her song, the more stuck up she is, but oh well.
That was Neon Cat. But with that said, then all the details, all the questions we have so far in this episode, they'll be all in the next episode when we actually watch that. So I guess we'll just see you there. So in case you missed it, RWBY Volume 4 Episode 2 came out. So if you want to go ahead and take a look at that and join us in the conversation, go ahead and do that. But until then, we'll just wait till Episode 3 comes out. So until next time, everybody.
Bye.